There are a lot of big changes happening in my life right now. I'm not exaggerating that. A lot of big changes, and I will go into details in the future, but it's the kind of changes where I can feel things shifting underneath me. And the reason why I bring that up is because I know that it's a possibility that you are going through the same thing, where there are the type of changes that you can feel things shifting underneath you, where the life that you've been living, it just doesn't quite feel the same anymore. And the life that you say you want isn't fully here yet. So you end up in this strange middle place where you're not where you were, but you're not where you're going either. It's just in between. And I've been spending a lot of time studying this in-between place, because not only have I noticed it and lived it more than once, I know a lot of you are in the middle of it right now too. And you've made decisions. You've said, this is what I want. You've committed to something new, whether it be a new level of health or income or a new way of living, a new identity. And then something happens where it just doesn't feel as smooth and easy as it did before. It's not clean. Things don't seem clear. And it doesn't feel like immediate progress. It's uncomfortable, uncertain. And sometimes it's even confusing. And I bring this up because if you don't understand what's happening, that's usually the moment where most people quit, or they slow down, or they go back to what they're familiar with from before. And it's because they interpret that feeling as something that's wrong. And it's not wrong. Please don't think it's wrong. I think, and I know, and have learned, it's a specific place called the buffer. I have spoken a lot about the buffer over the course of the last episodes of this podcast. By the way, welcome back to the lab. I'm your host, Bryce Prescott. Thanks for joining me today. But back to the buffer. It's the space between the decision and the embodiment. Consider that word embodiment. It means that you are living it in your body. Basically, that it is your lived experience. It's the space between choosing the life and becoming the person who can actually handle it. And what I've been really paying attention to lately is this, that most people don't fail because they chose the wrong thing. They fail because they misinterpret what's happening to them in the middle, in what the buffer feels like. They think that discomfort means that they should stop or it's wrong. They think that the confusion means that they're off track. And they think that friction means it's not working. And it's none of those things. What if that feeling, as I've stated before, is just a signal? It's just information, feedback. It's showing you something very specific about the process that relates very specifically to you. If you understood that, you wouldn't panic, you would use it. And that's what I want to talk about today. Because as I've been looking at my own life through this lens and looking at where things feel smooth and where things feel difficult and stuck, where things are being shown to me that I had no clue were going on, that now have to be addressed as I've made a choice to level up my life. I made a choice. Instead of asking what's happened to me, I started asking a different question. What is this showing me? What is the invitation here? Where am I the problem? Because I don't think that discomfort is random. I think it's pointing somewhere. And once you can see where it's pointing, you can actually do something about it. That's when you can make adjustments and new choices, and you can move, you can build, you can, instead of just sitting there confused, you can do something about it. And so in today's episode, I wanted to give you a way to understand that space for you, that middle part, not just emotionally, but from a structural standpoint. I want to give you a way to look at your life and your discomfort and the things that you're working towards and say, this is where I am. This is what's actually happening. And here is what I need to do next. Because if you can do that, the buffer will stop being something that you fear and it will become something that you use. So let's make this practical. So the moment that you decide you want something different, it creates a tension inside of you. There's a gap between where you are and where you want to be. And most people try to close that gap emotionally using motivation or overthinking, or they're trying to feel something. They're trying to feel ready. And that just doesn't work, because that gap of discomfort, it closes through structure, through you understanding what's going on, and through taking action. For a long time, those of you that have followed me or been even my coaching clients, you know that I've taught a very simple framework when it comes to how to look at your evolution and what you need. If your life isn't what you want it to be, it usually comes down to three things. You either don't have the right information, you don't have the right guidance or mentorship, or you don't have the right community around you. It's usually one or more of those things. Anything you would diagnose in your life as being something that you're missing out on or lacking or needs to fix, it's one of those things: info, guidance, or community. And when you look at development of those things, there's a pattern, like an order. And that is mindset first, then your skill sets, and then your habits. That's how people grow. What I've realized is that model, it tells you how to grow, but it doesn't always show you where the breakdown is. And as I understand more of my own experience with the buffer and looking at the things that I need to fix, it became very illuminating for me. And I wanted to pass this along today. So when I started looking at things differently, it wasn't emotionally, it was structurally. There is a need that we have to address our emotions. Our nervous system and the way we feel about things are directly connected to our ability to receive what we want. We have to emotionally be able to handle it. But there's a flip side to that, in that your emotions also can be dictating and sharing a different type of signal for you, which is an invitation to look at the structural aspects of what's happening in your life. When I say structural, I mean, what are the pieces and parts that are making this happen? If you break it down, it's very, very simple. What do I actually know? What can I actually do? Who am I actually around? And what am I actually using to accomplish these things? And what do people actually think of me when I'm not in the room? So those are 5 simple things: knowledge, skills, network, resources, and reputation. When you start to look at your life through those 5 lenses, you'll stop guessing a lot, and you will start seeing where some of the discomfort in the buffer is showing up from, and where you get to focus that discomfort for the building up of a new part of you. So let's break these down into the 5 areas, okay? So this first one is knowledge, basically. This is where most people hide, actually. Learning, consuming, waiting to feel ready. You don't know the specifics. The beautiful thing about where we're at right now in our day and age is that knowledge used to have a lot higher barrier of entry to receive it, to learn it. It used to be you'd have to pay a lot of money at times to access to smart people, buying books, attending seminars, training, schooling. And that's changed a lot, actually, because of AI. There's really no more barrier of entry to learning things. Like, you just have to go to your favorite AI app, whether it's ChatGPT or Perplexity or Claude or Grok, and ask it, and it will give you information. So the truth is pretty simple. Do you know what you need to know, and is it enough? And then, where are you not using that information and that knowledge that you have? That's the first part. The second one is your skills. This is execution. I've talked a lot about this in different ways on this podcast relative to your ability to authentically share a message, to use your voice, your ability to communicate. That is a skill. The ability to sell. Can you convince people that something is worth their time, attention, and resource that they might not be aware of? Do you have the ability to sell? Can you follow through? Do you understand the language of marketing? See, all of these things, when under pressure, will show you how good you are at these things. And so if you're experiencing that part in the buffer where you're feeling discomfort, it very well may be because you don't have a certain skill that you are being invited to learn. I've shared my experience of needing to learn how to market better. That because of my connection, powerful networkers and other people, that I got to cut the line metaphorically and have access to networks and things to which it wasn't required of me to learn how to sell in a traditional sense. I was coming to the table with my leads already having been pre-closed, basically. So I just had to show up and provide value. Now I'm in this different phase and I'm having to learn how to sell. That is a skill. And under pressure, as a reminder, you will always fall to the level of your training. When things get rough, I think that's an old Jocko Willink quote, and I'm butchering it, obviously, but you will always resort to the level of your training when you're in the muck, when things are difficult. So in this second issue of skills, communication's a big one and the many facets of it. And there are other communicating things that you need to have skill with. Conflict resolution, your ability to plan, your ability to have vision, to connect with people. These are all skills that are learnable, and you can know just through a bit of self-reflection where you're lacking in those things. The third is your network, your environment, the people you surround yourself with. Who do you know? And who knows you? Your network, it reflects you in a way. Not your intentions, but it reflects you. The people that you choose to surround yourself with, they cast a shadow onto you. There are times in your efforts to create a bigger and better life for yourself that you simply don't have access currently to the right people, to the right network. And by even quantifying it in this way, it simplifies it. I need to meet more people that do X, Y, or Z. I need to show more people the value that I have so that they would want to associate with me for reasons X, Y, or Z. Your network is a key part of it. There's a quote that you may have heard that says, your network is your net worth. Now, I believe that quote is incomplete, but I still think it paints a picture that's very important. It is extremely important for you to have access to people and to have a network that's powerful to which you serve into as well as serves back you. Now, the fourth is resources. If you're experiencing disconnect and discomfort in the buffer between the thing that you had chosen to experience and you receiving and enjoying it, resources could be the issue. And resources aren't just money. It includes time, it includes your energy, and of course, financial resources. But here's the thing, most people don't lack resources. They misuse them far more than they are without them. And so again, when you're experiencing the discomfort in the buffer and you're blaming it on lack of money or time or attention or I'm too busy, there's an invitation there for you to reallocate and reassess actually what your resources are and where you're putting them. I have this happen a lot actually when I have discovery calls for new coaching clients. In order to work with me, it is an investment. And so there has to be an internal conversation that these individuals have about what is this money getting me? And a lot of times it's that they have a fear of allocating that much of an investment because they don't know what they're going to get back in return for it yet as a part of the conversation. And sometimes it's on the edge of affordability. A lot of times, sometimes they can't even afford it, even if they do have access to it. And so they're now having a conversation about what can I do to maximize these resources so that I can invest in myself in this way? There is always a conversation to be had internally, especially if you're feeling discomfort in the buffer about your resources and where you're putting them and what they're giving back to you, how you are investing your time, your energy, and of course, your money. Most misuse them. And the fifth of this list is your reputation. See, how people see you and perceive you is a multiplier. You can be phenomenal at certain aspects of your skills, and nobody would know you. I'll share this quick story. When I first started doing stand-up comedy, I had a mentor who is a man by the name of Rodney Norman. For those of you that have been fans of mine, you have seen Rodney on my podcasts. I believe he's been on like 7 times. Him and I just have such a great banter and camaraderie when we get behind a microphone. And he is a hilarious comedian. And he was one of the first professional comedians that I was able to develop a friendship with years and years ago when I first got started. And as I was wanting to learn and understand more about this whole process of doing stand-up and telling jokes to strangers and how to write and how to have better stage presence and all of the different aspects of being great at that craft, I would confide in Rodney about some of the struggles that I'd had, and he gave me some really excellent advice. My concern up front was about being funny. The natural thought, right? If you're a comic, you want to make people laugh. That's the job of a comedian, correct? Hey, jester, make me laugh. But Rodney reframed something for me that he said, yes, funny is important, but it's only number 2 to being memorable. Now, if we consider in these 5 things that your reputation and how people see you is a multiplier to your effectiveness in the things you're trying to accomplish, being memorable is a part of that when it comes to my efforts as a comedian. If people remembered me, it made it easier for me to get into rooms that otherwise might be difficult. If people remembered me, they'd follow me on my socials. They'd watch my joke reels. They would want to come to my shows or buy my merchandise. They didn't necessarily have to remember how funny I was. They just had to remember me. Now, of course, there was a connection to the humor aspect of it, but this transcends into other areas. I've gone to business meetings, pitch meetings, investor stuff, where the person pitching had a sound, solid idea, and they bored everybody to sleep because they weren't interesting. The personal aspect of these things is not just the only thing relative to what I'm talking about. Your reputation and how people see you, and it really being a multiplier, is a direct result of how you keep your word and how others see you as somebody that follows through and gets things done and makes things happen. So there's several facets of this piece of it that's important to consider. But understanding that your reputation is very important, and that if no one sees you and no one likes you and wants to associate with you, none of the things that we're talking about can compound so that it gets easier. Your inconsistency in paying attention to your reputation is expensive. It's one of the reasons why I've encouraged all along people to put themselves out there on social media. For several reasons, but one is because you learn a lot about yourself in the interface of how you share something that might be important to you or something that you might find entertaining. And on top of that is that it gives people a chance to get to know you. And so there's a way using social media or podcasting to put yourself in front of people or in the ears of people that don't know you, that can decide on their terms if they like you or not. This is a magnifier of your reputation. And we are seeing this down the line in so many ways. So much so, even in places like Hollywood, where they're choosing actors for films, they will look at the follower count and the engagement on social media of potential people they are looking to hire as actors for a film because they recognize that it's a magnifier for the visibility of the potential film project. That translates into so many other parts of business. Now, let's bring all of this idea of these 5 things. your knowledge, your skills, your network, your resources, and your reputation. Let's bring it back to the buffer, that uncomfortable middle place. And so think now about the friction that you're feeling. It's not random. Right now in your life, you have something that's not going the way you want it to go. And that is not a random thing. It's pointing somewhere. It's data. It's a signal. Are you feeling confused about something? That could mean you have a gap in your knowledge, information that you don't have. Are you feeling overwhelmed? That's a skills issue. You feeling isolated or lonely? Where's your network? Your friendships? Stressed? How are you allocating your resources? Are you feeling like nobody notices you or you're isolated in that way? That could be a reputation gap. My whole point is that instead of asking yourself, why is this happening, which I've said is the most useless question ever, ask yourself, which one of these is asking me to grow? Which system? Which thing? Knowledge, skills, network, resources, reputation, which one of those things is inviting me and asking me to step up and level up? Now, there's a compounding engine to all this too that I want to discuss. And this is where a lot of people get it wrong. They try to fix everything at once, and it doesn't work. See, life will change through compounding, through small adjustments in consistent ways, small actions, repeated over and over, consistently, stacked over time. You don't fix these 5 things at a time. You pick one, and then you daily do small things to increase it, so that little by little you stack those reps. The swinging singles is a good way to look at it, to use a baseball analogy. You hit a single, you get on base. You hit another single, you get on base again. Enough times, every single scores a run. And that's how you handle this daily. That's how your identity changes, because you learn to trust yourself more in the small consistencies. And then that's how your results show up. So as a reminder, and I know you guys understand this, the buffer is feedback. It's a signal. It's a place that's pointing you in the right direction. These things that I've shared, these are the system, the framework. Again, knowledge, skills, network, resources, reputation, that's the system. In each one of those things, you can build new habits and then compound those habits. Like I said, you do it one at a time. You pay attention to the discomfort and the buffer of what you're experiencing. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to write those 5 words down: knowledge, skills, network, resources, reputation. And on a scale of 1 to 10, I want you to rate yourself. How are you in each one of these areas? Be honest. Like, there's no benefit to embellishing anything here. Be brutally honest with your answers. Where are you at in your knowledge, your information that you know, the learning that you have, your skill sets, people that you know, your resources of time, attention, energy, your reputation and how people see you? Rate yourself, score yourself 1 to 10. And then in the next month, pick one and commit to making it bigger. No switching, no overthinking, just one. Daily. Small things. Now, if your life then doesn't look the way that you want it to, not because you're broken, it's because one of these systems is incomplete. It needs your attention. And the moment that you start to see that clearly and fully is when the buffer will start to shrink and you will start to experience the life that you've wanted, the thing that you've chosen. You will embody that new version of yourself that's got it handled. And one of the things I wanted to as well address here is that there are a lot of resources that are important for you to know are available to you. You might notice in the feed of this very podcast that there was a bonus episode that's a 12-minute guided visualization and meditation exercise. In my weekly coaching experience called the lab, I had walked all of the members of the lab through that very exercise. And it was very impactful for those of us that were there. So much so that it was requested that I create it as a usable resource so that they could use it outside of our weekly meetings. So I did that. But I made the call to make it available to you as well. Even though you're not a member yet of any of my coaching community or other services I provide, because you listen to this podcast, I wanted you to have access to that bonus episode and to know that it's there for your daily use. When it comes to these buckets that we've talked about and these lists of how to know what is missing and how to interpret the signal that's coming from the buffer, doing a daily visualization will help you to understand that more cleanly. And I provided a free resource right there in my podcast feed for you to try it. It is as well available on my YouTube channel, which the link for that is in the show notes. So you can use it there as well. My friends, if you want the next level, this is where it is. I'm harping on the buffer in these messages because I want to make sure that whether you listen to this when it releases on the day or you're visiting it at some time in the future where it had been released months, years ago, do you understand exactly what you're experiencing in the discomfort that it is as you try to work towards a new life? That you look at your buffer, this middle place where you've chosen what you want and it hasn't shown up in an embodied way yet, and you see the signals that are inviting you to become a different person that can handle that life. If you've heard the phrase, I'm doing the work, that's exactly what it means. You are doing the work of assessing and addressing all of the places to which you get to level up and become more knowledgeable, skillful, connected, resourceful, and known. And that's today's episode. My friends, thank you so much for listening to Lab. Please share this episode if it resonated with you. If there's others in your world that you know that would benefit from this message, please do that as well. If you talk about it on social media, please tag me in it. I'm great at responding and resharing those things. And like I always say, until next time, take it a day at a time. I'll see you.